three things are described to be Satchidananda. Sat means eternal, Chit means conscious, and Ananda means bliss-seeking, or experiencing of bliss, or endeavoring to experience bliss. God is always blissful. Krishna is described to be Anandamoy, always blissful. The soul is described to be, in its pure essence, Satchidananda. So anything that's not Satchidananda, that means it's Maya. Sat means eternal, it's conscious, and it's blissful. So we're eternal in Maya, we're conscious in Maya. We're not blissful in Maya. So that non-blissfulness, that is Maya. How to erase that non-blissful state? Usually all the non-blissfulness is caused by ourselves, by our own mind and senses, and how we interact with nature in ways non-harmonious. Like we see everything's perfect in the world, but we mess it up. Wherever there's problems, was it God made problems or man made problems? Now you could say natural disasters, it's like, oh, that's God's fault. But it's kind of a short-sighted way of seeing things. Vedic wisdom teaches us about the law of karma, that it's a cycle. And as you sow, so shall you reap. It's what Christ taught in the Bible. And so natural disasters are merely the repercussions of our own activities that are bearing fruit. But it's also part of the painful cycle of birth and death and material existence. But the question is really, bhakti means pure love and pure devotion with a relationship. That's the meaning of bhakti. We've been discussing this point that bhakti implies, intrinsic to the nature of bhakti is a rasa. A rasa means a relationship. So if we think about different religions, they have different kinds of relationships with God. In Christianity, it says God the Father. God is my Father, He is the Creator. In some religions, God is the friend or the mother. For us, our conception with Krishna is that according to your nature, you can have a relationship with God as a mother or father, or as a son, or as a beloved, or as a friend, or as in a neutral way, as a sage, meditating on God as everything and trying to experience Him in everything. So therefore it's described that the relationship with God is called your rasa. Rasa means an experience or a mellow of a relationship. Like right now, I have a certain relationship with Vrindavan or with you or with Mangala. So that's like a rasa. Like with Gopa, I don't have the same relation as I do with Vrindavan. The rasa is different. Right? With the grass, I don't have the same relationship as I do with Vrindavan, Kirtan. It's a different rasa. With natural things, we have like a shanta relationship. Shanta means like peacefully benevolent, if it's proper. Means we don't want to do harm to the grass or to the trees. We want to serve it. You know, help it be its best self, you could say. So these are the different kinds of relationship we have. So when we say, oh, I love God, we were talking about this yesterday. Okay, you love God, in what way? If we say, I love my mother, there's a rasa in that between son or daughter and mother. I love my wife or my husband. That's a rasa. The love you have in Greek philosophy, they understand the different specialities of love. There's different words for it, filial, platonic, and so forth. Love for the wife is not the same as love for the mother or the daughter. The principle of love is the same, but it manifests according to your rasa. Love is bhakti. Love is prem. But what is your rasa? That's how the love manifests. You can't say, I love the mother and the wife and the daughter the same way, because then it becomes immoral. Right? Your expression of your love changes according to your rasa, your relationship. So in our understanding, as it's described in our scriptures, is that you can have relationship with God in different rasas. And it's described that all the relationships we have in this world are like perverted reflections of original pure relationships with God, as a mother with a son, or as a beloved with a beloved, or as a friend. All those kinds of relationships you could cherish in this world. Oh, I used to love playing sports with my friends. Yes, but that's like a sakyaras. So the interesting thing here that it's talking about is that the jiva, or the soul, is Satchidananda, eternally existing, always conscious, and trying to experience Ananda. God is Satchidananda, and bhakti's nature is Satchidananda. Bhakti means love or devotion, but it implies relationship. And so the relationship aspect is what gives the Ananda. Like you could say, I could live alone. Like, okay, we got this property, one person, we could just live alone here and eat ice cream for the rest of our lives, alone. How much Ananda are you going to experience from that? You're going to be happy? I'm going to get a bunch of money and I'm going to be in a cave. And I'm going to get an endless supply of ice cream sent by Amazon. I don't have to interact with anyone. I'm just going to eat my ice cream and be happy. That's a kind of madness. Ananda comes from sambandha, relationship. Life is better experienced with others, in relationship. And so if we can have relationship with so many things of this world, why can't we have a relationship with God? That's what all the teachings tell us. First of all, we have to wrestle with the fact of God existing or not existing. Okay, if we can get past that, right? We're trying to act in a godly way, not a godless way. So in a godly way, we can practice, we live understanding the importance of connection. That is yoga. Yoga is connection. So what about yoga with God? That is bhakti yoga by definition. So what is your rasa, or your relationship with God? So that's how we try to become more clear. We say, I love God. Okay, how? In an impersonal way, like as a light or as a force, but that's okay, that's valid. But then I'm bound to start relationships with things that have form, because I'm also a form. Consciousness in bodies takes on form. In the Gita, Krishna says, Dehinosmin. Dehi means the soul, and Deha means the body. So when we say in Sanskrit, when you say body, the word for soul means, there's many words for soul, but Atma or Jiva. But when you say the body, it's tied into the idea of the embodied. Like in English, we don't say like, oh, we have a body, and then like spirit means something within the body. In Sanskrit, you say Deha Dehi. Deha is the body, Dehi is the soul. Embodying this form. Swarup. Swarup means having a form. And so this world is described to be like the reflection in the water. The tree is on the bank of the river, we are in the reflection. And so we're swimming about in the ocean of samsara, but we lose taste and form and relationship because we are dissatisfied in this world. Hello, Brenda. How's it going?
You look different.
Thank you. You can have a seat here by Mangala.
Hello.
And we'll talk after. I'm speaking for about 15 minutes, and then we'll talk after, okay?
Sorry to interrupt.
No problem. Every evening we do this instead of watching Fox or CNN. This is what we do. Instead of watching Fox or CNN and going to a rave, we sit and talk about God, and then we go and sing and chant, and then we go to bed. We're trying to live a better life, hopefully. All right, so this is an important topic. Ultimately, what are we doing here? We're trying to give people a better life. Now, it's a process. We say spiritual life is bitter in the beginning. Why? Because we have to detox. We have to cold turkey for a while, you know? It's like we're habituated to activities that we think make us happy, but ultimately lead to pain. Like, again, I like to eat ice cream, but if I eat it all day long, or something that's not good for me, then it's going to lead to a lot of problems. So therefore parents say, don't do this, don't do that. That's Vaidhi Bhakti, rules and regulations. In spiritual life, the teacher says, don't do this, it's not good for you. Why are you telling me all the time, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this? Because you're habituated to doing things that are harmful for you. Once you learn how to curb that nature a little bit, then we say, do this, do this, do this. And usually what they do is they do both. So we say in spiritual life, the first stage is learning what to do, learning what not to do. Anukulyasya sankalpa pratikulyasya varjanam. In taking a vow, I will follow what is favorable, and I'll give up what is unfavorable. These things aren't good for me, not good for my health, not good for that. Okay, I can't do it. I may like to eat it, but it's going to mess me up, so I'll stop. The interesting thing about spiritual life, why they say it's bitter in the beginning, is because our Rupa Goswami gave a very special verse. He said, when you have jaundice, things that are naturally sweet taste bitter. This is the fact of jaundice. If you get jaundice, it's called in Sanskrit, it's called pili rog, the yellow disease. Your skin becomes yellowish. And things that are naturally sweet taste bitter. What's the cure for jaundice? Sugar candy. It's one of the cures. You eat what is sweet even though it tastes bitter until it becomes sweet again. So we say that's like relationship with God. Bitter. Oh, I've suffered so much, I've struggled so much, this problem, that problem. We tend to become antagonistic and wrathful. That's like the root of atheism. Oh, God, he's done so many wrong things to me, so either I fly on him, destroy him, or he must not exist. But take to the process with faith, what is bitter becomes sweet. Why? Because it's all based on love. Love is naturally sweet. But if you've been traumatized and hurt again and again and again and again, then you think love is bitter. You think, oh, relationship is bad. And the fact is that with God, there's a fear of success. Because we don't know what it'll be like. Because we haven't really experienced it. What if I actually have a relationship with God? What would that be like? It's a bit scary, I know. Imagine you just throw your whole heart in, you surrender, and you try to develop a relationship with God, then there's a certain kind of, oh, this is okay. My life is okay. But what is this life? Complacency means, again birth, again death. Again birth, again death, again suffering. Samsara chakra, the wheel of samsara. But you can get out of the wheel of samsara. There's 5 eternal truths taught in the Gita. Time, action, karma, and reaction. The soul, God, and nature. Prakriti, material nature. Of the 5, 4 are always eternal. 5, the principle of karma is eternal, but you can transcend it. Meaning, the principle of karma will continue, but you can evolve beyond it. You're not going to stop the law of karma in this existence, but you can transcend it. You can become Jivan Mukta, liberated even in this body, if you're doing everything for God's service. So we talked about this a lot in the last few weeks. What is the difference between love and lust? Love is merely, like we see Melinda, always so much love, just serving others, that's love. If you live it, you have it. The mind tells you different things, but that doesn't matter. What you act in, like Vrindavan Prabhu, you have so much love for Gurudev's speech, his Vani. Why? Because you live that way. So for someone to say, no, you're just doing it, it's like, so what? You're doing it. That's the proof. So acting, serving, loving, caring for others without just looking at your own selfish interest, that's the nature of love. The nature of lust is, what's in it for me? How can I best serve myself? That's why we say, leaders eat last. That's like they say that in organizations. If you want to be a good leader, eat last. Why? You're doing it for the benefit of others. So we say on our Serve Love products, right? How can we make a happier, healthier world? Right? How can we serve others, serve love, help improve people's lives? Why not? What's life for? What's the means to Ananda? Right? Everyone wants happiness, but we think we'll be happy just by gratifying our own senses. But your senses are mundane. There's There's another thing they teach us. Material senses, hands, eyes, ears, tongue, nose, our nature since lifetimes. How can I enjoy through my senses? How can I use others for my enjoyment? We start going towards liberation when we think this world is temporary. The world is temporary. In essence, the world's not temporary, but we are going to die. The world will go on. Our personal apocalypse is coming. We're all going to die and be reborn and die again. But the better news is there is a path to liberation. That path is loving service. In Sanskrit we say prem seva. Prem seva means, prem means love, seva means service. That is our way. We practice becoming more focused on God in different ways by especially chanting His names, singing, serving, meditating, all these processes. But it says the root process is simply developing that relationship in your heart. And at the beginning, it's going to be like a mountain from a distance, right? Adirondack blue. From a long distance, the mountain is just like a bluish haze. Is that the mountain? If you go on a train and you go to, or a car and you go to the base of the mountain, oh, but now it's green? No, the mountain's blue. Now my senses are faulty. The mountain is blue, it's not green. Why is it blue when you go far enough back? Is it blue or is it green? Who knows? When you're close, it's that way. And then if you get even closer, you can see every blade of grass, every animal, every bit of creek or waterfall. So the closer you get to it, the more you realize the nature of it. So God from a distance is very vague. As you come closer and closer to God, you can see the feature, the nature, the qualities, the relationship, the sweetness, according to your nature. So everyone has a specific, unique, individual nature, and therefore everyone has a unique relation with God. Therefore we say, Jiske jaisi bhavana jaisi hari murad dekha tente. According to your relationship with God, you'll see Him in that way. But ultimately, we are trying to approach in this relationship of love and sweetness. In our land of Vrindavan, it's described by the creator Brahma. There's three highest demigods, Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh. Not demigods, but like guna avatars, right? And Brahma says, in that world of Vrindavan, every word is a song, every step is a dance. It doesn't mean they're all running around Mary Poppins. It means the spirit is overflowing with joy. Anandamaya, right? Where everyone is simply serving each other with love. Even God Himself. Krishna is famous for doing what? Every day going barefoot, tending 1,000,000 cows. With love for each one of them, knowing each by name. And playing with His friends in the lake, and serving and playing. It's a joyful existence. How can we serve such a joyful existence and live in such a joyful existence? Not be a destructive force, but be a positive force. That is our practice. So, at this point a question may be raised. If bhakti, this is a very interesting point it makes here, is quite the opposite of inert. Inert means jud. Jud means static, like a stone. So bhakti or loving devotion is the opposite of something inert. That's why we say it's ecstatic. Become ecstatic. If you're just laying around all the time, it means you're depressed. You're static. You're jud, like a stone. What does it mean to be ecstatic? Sweden, they did a study. What's the best kind of exercise? You know what they said? Putting your arms up and jumping up and down. Yeah, that's what we do. Figured out the secret sauce. Why? We already knew this long before they discovered it. But we also say exercise alone isn't yoga. The heart and the soul should also do yoga. Yoga for the body, make the body move and stretch. Okay, what's yoga for the soul? What's yoga for the heart? How can the heart be healed and well and whole? So therefore, when we dance, our body is ecstatic, but our heart should also develop the taste of relationship. So, this is very interesting. Bhakti, being the opposite of inert, has the symptom of being self-manifesting and is composed of eternality, cognizance, and bliss. Then how will she appear in the heart of someone who is practicing with this inert body? Because it said the body is material. The hand isn't conscious, the soul is conscious. The self is conscious, not the hand, not the toe or the toenail or the hair. So how does that pure love and devotion appear in what is material? In answer, it is said this: when iron is placed in fire, take like a piece of iron. If you place it in a blazing fire and heat it intensely, not for like a few seconds, you keep that iron in the fire for hours and hours and hours, it obtains qualitative sameness with the fire. It takes on the fire's reddish hue, and it acquires the potency to burn. Take off that iron, quality of the fire can burn. In the same way, by her own power, bhakti, which is composed of this eternality, cognizance, and bliss, manifests even in the material senses of the practitioner. And by destroying the mundanity of those senses, renders them as transcendent as she is. This is one of our kind of axioms. Diksha means the process of spiritual initiation, like a baptism of sorts. It means that at that point when you surrender your heart to God through His messenger, whether it's Christ or Buddha or one of our gurus in our lineage, at that point, at that moment of real surrender, if the guru accepts, then God accepts. And then, well, God says, okay, if you want to be with me, you have to become like me. So He starts making you transcendental in a subtle way at first. But in order to serve God, you have to become godly. So that's our process, how to become godly. Therefore, all of our processes are arranged in such a manner. What we're doing here looks like, oh, we just have an ashram, we just do service, and we just eat and live together. This is the same thing that's been done for tens of thousands of years in India. And before that, there's a very interesting fact. What we were reading the other day, Vrindavan, remember? It's a very interesting point. In the Bhagavatam, it was mentioning all the different sages, and it said this one was from Europe, this one was from this place. Nowadays we think, oh, there's India. It didn't mention Europe. It didn't use the name Europe, but it was like this island, this continent, right? 10,000 years ago, it wasn't called Europe. Just like 500 years ago, it wasn't called America. So it's described that he came from, we're not an India-based religion. We're the religion of the soul in the relationship with God. It's not sectarian to a nation state. India, the name India, 1947 it started. So we think, oh, India, what is India? What is America? What is this land? This is God's earth. It's always been that way. So our process here in this ashram is the same process that has always been there, age after age. How to develop your relationship with God through loving service, through serving others, through developing, through practice. What is the nature of love? To serve God and to serve others. Jive doya, the highest compassion. Welfare work for others, but we say the highest welfare work. If you can save one soul from samsara, it's a greater act of charity than opening millions of hospitals. This is what the Buddha would say. This is what Christ would say. This is what our scriptures, our teachers would say. If you can save one soul from the suffering in samsara, why? You admit them in the hospital, again they're going to get, when they go out, again they'll get sick. And again they'll still die. Said you can be, they have a joke, right? If you eat healthy and exercise, take care of your body, you're still going to die. Right? It's just a quality of life. So we say eat healthy, exercise, so that at least your quality of life hopefully won't be completely horrible. I had a close friend, vegan, raw food, extremely healthy, exercise all the time, died at 40. All of a sudden. And you know people who are living like chain smokers and alcoholics, 95, 100, strong as a bull. It's according to your karma. But what we know is whether you're doing that or doing this, you're going to die. So what we say is there's no difference in morality between a rabbit and a tiger. Oh, a rabbit's so moral, it's eating grass. And a tiger is immoral, it's eating a deer. No. Morality is developing your relationship with God. Love for God and relationship with God. The rest of it's all illusion and samsara, duality of good and evil, material duality. So what we are trying to do is we approach God, become like the iron in the fire, become like the fire, and then if your consciousness becomes like that way, At the end of this life, it will not just be like fire, it will be fire. Meaning it will become completely godly. The best we do in this life is our body becomes sublimated, spiritualized, transcendentalized. Upon giving up this body, it's described to be like a snake giving off its skin, achieving its pure form, which is born from within, the nature of the soul. So we'll stop here today.